So what's going on, guys? My name's Chopper, and I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Now, Modern Warfare is quite a different playing Call of Duty than all of the other ones in past recent years. This game can feel very alien to even experienced COD veterans, and maybe if you haven't played the game in a very long time and you're getting back into the series, this is going to be quite a different experience for you to get used to. So what we're going to be doing in today's video is going over 100 tips and tricks so you can learn everything you need to know about this game. And these are not only going to increase your game knowledge about Modern Warfare, but it's really going to enhance your experience as a whole. Now, I worked unbelievably hard putting this video together for you guys, making it the best I possibly can, so if you guys don't mind sparing 1 second to drop a thumbs up, it is completely free, and it helps me out very, very much. And of course, while you're at it, make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well if you are brand new around here. And then also, guys, I'm streaming every single day over on Twitch. My link will be down below in the description. Go drop my channel follow, and I'll see you there over there for the streams. With that all being said, guys, let's get into 100 tips and tricks so you can learn everything about Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Number 100, grenade indicators are always red in this game, regardless of whether they're in your hit path or not. In previous Call of Duty titles, the grenade indicator would only be red, or it would have a different indicator symbol depending on if it was going to hit you or not. But even if it's around a corner now in Modern Warfare and you're safe from it, that indicator will always be red regardless, so it's your job to determine whether it's going to hit you or not. 99, having weapon charms equipped is going to slightly increase your hip fire spread, and unfortunately it seems right now this is a glitch that they're going to go ahead and fix at some point, but if you're watching this as soon as it comes out pre-patch or whatever, then just know that wearing a weapon charm is going to make your hip fire spread a little bit worse. Number 98, it's better just to manually single tap your weapons rather than putting them into the single fire mode. Some different weapons have select fire where you can either go in full auto, burst mode, or even single tap, but if you're single tapping somebody far away, you're better off doing it manually and leaving it in auto, but just getting good with your trigger finger. It's better just to single short tap from the full auto standpoint. 97, drop shotting is actually still viable in this game. As much as they've wanted to go for realism and especially implement that into the way the gunfight mechanics work, drop shotting is still a relatively viable technique, and what's great about it is as soon as you full prone out when you hit that drop shot, then your recoil while you're on the ground is going to be completely shredded, and your gun is going to be way easier to control. 96, I highly recommend you turn off film grain in your settings. This is going to make your game look a lot more clear, and to be quite honest with you, I don't really know why they added this setting in the first place. I think film grain in video games always looks awful, and I recommend you turn that all the way down. Number 95, speaking of settings, you should also turn off motion blur. Now, this is one you hear a lot from people as well. Some people like motion blur because it gives you a little bit of a more realistic experience, and it cinematically looks nice, but as far as gameplay, and if you want to take the game a little bit more competitively, I would always turn off both world motion blur and also weapon motion blur. Keeping these settings on means it's going to be a lot more likely for you to miss enemies if you're looking around quickly or if there's a lot going on. It's hard to determine what you should be focusing on. Number 94, the callouts in-game that your characters give out can reveal either your position or an enemy position. And this is a little bit unfortunate because sometimes it ends up turning around on you. If you sneak up on somebody, your character will yell out a quote, causing your enemy to hear that and then turn around. So use this cautiously. Unfortunately, you don't really have a say in when your character does or does not shout out, but just be aware that this does happen. 93, the chopper gunner versus the support helo is one that people really debate. Now, it all really comes down to is whether you prefer to manually control it and you think you're going to get more kills that way, or you can call in the support helo and then still continue on your gun streak. If people don't want to spend too much time in a kill streak, I would go with the support helo, although if you want kind of that classic Modern Warfare kill streak vibe, I would go for the chopper gunner. Number 92, advanced UAVs only last for 28 seconds. Now, the advanced UAV is a pretty high streak to get, and it acts as essentially the orbital VSAT from past Call of Duty titles, where you can see the enemy's position and also their direction. There are ways to avoid this, but for the most part, the advanced UAV is really, really good for spotting out enemies, but unfortunately, it doesn't last very long at all. 91, finishing moves which can be performed by sneaking up on an enemy, sprinting to them, and then meleeing them, and the animational play is always an insta-kill no matter what. Number 90, there are attachments that affect muzzle velocity, but to be quite honest with you, in a game like Call of Duty, where all of the engagements are this close, muzzle velocity actually doesn't matter that much. It may matter a little bit in extremely long-range gunfights, or potentially if this game gets Battle Royale and there's even longer engagements, then muzzle velocity may end up making a difference, but to be honest, muzzle velocity means absolutely nothing right now. So if you need to lose a little bit of bullet speed for maybe some extra recoil control, I think that is completely worth it. Number 89, Juggernauts can in fact die by landing care packages on them. They don't die by running an ATV into them, but an airdrop will do it. 88, you're going to notice that the game is very AR heavy. Assault rifles are really the meta when it comes to this, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what kind of player you are, but at the end of the day, it's a lot less run and gun and a lot more of holding angles. 87, the game is going to favor slower play styles. If you can understand the maps and you can slow down and really check each angle and take them methodically and tactically, not to use the meme, that will end up bringing you a lot more success. Unfortunately, you kind of get punished for moving around in this game, it feels like, and that can, again, be a good thing or bad thing depending on what kind of player you are. Number 86 is a very crucial one. You need to know about Peeker's advantage. It is still in this game. So to explain this, I'm kind of going to have to show you this live, how this works. So what I'm going to show you is me killing one of my friends here in a game, and then from my perspective and also his perspective. So this is what mine looks like. You can see I jump around the corner, kill him like that. It's a pretty normal looking kill, and you can see that I have a significant amount of time where I can see his character before the damage actually starts to come out. Before the output happens, there's like at least, I don't know, 20 frames where I can see his character. Now, this is his perspective. Do you see that? Did you catch that? So we're going to slow this down. All right, okay, so I'll show you this from my perspective, slowed down. We're going to go frame by frame. You can see right here, you can see his gun. That's the first frame. And we're going to go about 10 to 20 here, where I can fully see his character before I've even shot yet. About 25 frames before the time I fire my gun between I've seen his character, and then I kill him here. But from his perspective, what you're going to notice is this. So the moment he can see my character is right here. But at this point in my game, I'm already firing. I haven't even hit the ground yet, and as you can see, he's taking damage. My character is completely looking the other direction, not even shot a bullet yet. My feet haven't even hit the ground yet either, and he's already taken 2 shots of damage right there. And then the minute my feet touch the ground, he's dead. So this is where you might get a little bit of this this instant melt around corners, because this is a little bit of a problem. It's been in every Call of Duty game, pretty much every video game as a whole as far as FPS is. So yes, Peeker's advantage is still in this game. You get the advantage by seeing them a couple of frames before they can see you if you jump around the corner. 85, listening out for footsteps is absolutely key in this game. As I was saying, a more methodical, slow play style and really listening out, paying attention to your environment is so crucial for doing well in the game that footsteps are a huge part of it. At the time of making this video, footsteps are pretty much crucial for every gunfight, but they may get nerfed in the future, so depending on when you're watching this, footsteps may or may be less important. 84 coming in naturally after that, Dead Silence is a great field upgrade to have. This is really one of the only ways to fully mask your footsteps and still have a good amount of mobility. This allows you to kind of flank and breach buildings without being detected. Number 85, just so you guys know, putting a tac insert on an ATV will cause it to explode. 82, there are 2 different ways to get nukes. You can either get the classic 30 gun streak in this game, or if you're playing Ground War and you end up capping all the flags for a certain amount of time, the game is going to mercy rule and nuke regardless. Number 81, suppressors actually hurt your aim down sight speed, which is interesting because suppressors are a little bit different than they were in previous Call of Duties, where you don't show up on the radar from firing anymore. So if you still feel like you want to run the suppressor despite that, you just need to know that it is going to slightly cut down your ADS speed. 80, throwing knives are back in the game as a lethal option, and they are a still 1 hit to the body anywhere at all. 79, the Ghost Perk, which is a perk 2 slot, is crucial for staying off the radar. Now, when it comes to advanced UAVs that are going to put your detection on, even if you have Ghost, you still will come up on the radar, but your direction will not be shown. 78, counter UAVs are kind of a combination of 2 different Call of Duty games. They perform as the standard UAV as they always have in the past, the regular counter, but they also act as kind of a scrambler like in previous Call of Duty games as well, where the closer an enemy is to it, the more their map is going to be scrambled up. 77, stopping power rounds, which are another field upgrade to absolutely melt. So if you're having trouble picking up a kill, considering using these stopping power rounds, as they're really going to help you out with your TTKs. 76, the perk double time, which I absolutely love, not only helps with your sprint, but it also increases your crouch speed, which in a game like this, I think is absolutely crucial to have. 75, the perk EOD is very good against Claymore spam. This is going to be one of those things where if you're having trouble staying alive from Claymores, these are going to reduce the amount of damage that these put out on you. They won't affect kill streaks though, but Claymores and grenades grenades will hit you less hard. 74, in most of the game modes, there is no death statistic on the scoreboard. Just so you guys know, if you've been looking for that, you have your kills up there. You'll also have like your score and everything and averaged out, but you will not have a death statistic anymore. Now, whether they took this out due to people rage quitting too much by looking at it, I have no idea, but this is not in the game at the moment. 73, Quick Fix is actually a really good perk for aggressive players and also playing in ground war. Now, this is what this is going to allow you to do while getting kills or capturing objectives. Your health regeneration is going to be faster. This is going to allow you to play fairly aggressive while getting on flags and stuff like that without having the fear of just running out of health. 72, another perk called Kill Chain is actually going to make it so your streaks will chain into each other. So kills maybe with a cluster strike will help you towards your chopper gunner. However, this does not count for nukes, so you cannot use Kill Chain, put on a chopper gunner, and then try to get the streak that way. In 71, conversely, you can also change your kill streaks into score streaks with Point Man. This allows you to work towards streaks without just getting kills. It's either capturing objectives, maybe getting assists. Anything that's going to score you points will be towards those streaks. 70, proximity mines are very effective to use against tanks and also ATVs. They're not so great against human players. Claymores are probably better for that if you're trying to hold down a specific area, but proximity mines are very good against vehicles. 69, operators in Modern Warfare are entirely cosmetic. Now, there's an entire tab of operators that you can change and select through. However, if you've been playing other games, they're not like Rainbow Six Siege operators where they have different functions. Every single cosmetic in this game is entirely optional. Operators do not affect gameplay whatsoever. 68, the attack insertion field upgrade is really not too bad to have, especially in ground war, but what you got to know is that they're not equipment anymore that you can use every single life. They have to recharge, and to be quite honest, the recharge on attack inserts can be quite slow. 67, your spray pattern is not at all determined or affected by your crouching or standing positions. Prone is definitely going to help cut down that recoil, but crouching does not help your spray control. 66, however, crouch walking does seem to help make your character slightly quieter. Now, the individual footsteps themselves between standing and crouching seem to be the same volume, but what happens when you're crouching is that the steps are less frequent, and also they do seem to be very, very slightly lower. 65, the breacher device that can be attached to a lot of weapons is going to be an insta-kill melee. Now, unless you have any other specific item for it, melees are not a one-hit in Modern Warfare unless using this breacher device, but it has to come with a muzzle attachment, meaning you have to sacrifice something like a compensator or even a suppressor for. 64, the tracker perk actually is going to allow you to faintly track footprint trails of enemies. Not only that, but it allows you to see the death locations of enemies and prevents you from placing any on the battlefield, which is a very, very good stealth perk. 63, the heartbeat sensor, or the baby monitor I like to call it, is no longer as effective in this game as it was in previous COD titles. Now, this really only gives you a rough estimate of who could be around you, but there are ways to avoid it with perks and such, and so I wouldn't very heavily rely on heartbeat sensors for being a way to pick up on enemies. 62, the tear gas tactical grenade is actually surprisingly good for breaching buildings. It's pretty easy to avoid in more open areas, but if you pop this around a corner and there's a lot of enemies, especially somebody camping and mounting, this is probably the best way to take them down. 61, the stim equipment will not only insta-heal you, but it's also going to refill your sprint as well, which is an underrated feature, because not only is it a medical item, but you can also get a lot more movement agility by using this also. Number 60, decoy grenades are pretty much just as useless as they've always been, and I would strongly advise that you don't run them in this game. 59, there are specific attachments that can end up exposing your position or making you more identifiable. Now, we're going to get into the specifics of that, but just know that there are some attachments that come with physical downsides that make you easier to spot. 58, running stocks on your assault rifles is very good for weapon stability. Like, it's incredibly good for that, but unfortunately, it comes with a downside to movement speed, and this is very crucial in a game like this as well. So, stability is a very good thing to have, but you also have to sacrifice something great for it, so it's up to you to decide what kind of stock you want to run. 57, the angled grip is going to give you a very good boost to horizontal recoil control, which is the harder version to control, by the way, but that attachment also comes with a slight movement speed decrease. 56, this game features another specialist perk system similar to MW3, where you can put together kill streaks and chain them to obtain more perks. So potentially you can have the perks that you spawn in with every life, but if you happen to go on a streak, you can obtain 3 more. 55, gunners and tanks can be shot out relatively easily in this game. They don't have much cover, and they're pretty easy to single fire. However, you don't want to stay in front of the tank too long, as it's pretty much just as easy for them to kill you as well. 54, the red laser sight is one of the best to run in my opinion, because it does give you a slight benefit to your hipfire spread, but it does not reveal your position at all. It's undetectable by enemies. 53, green lasers, whether the variants that only appear when you're aimed down sights or the ones that are perpetually early on are unfortunately a big thing that's going to get you noticed, and these are very easy to detect from far away, so while they're good for hipfire spread, be cautious that they will give away your position. 52, leaning or mounting in this game is essential for cutting down on recoil. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't do much in my experience to hide your body, but it really does make farther sprays a lot easier to handle. 51, the realism mode in this game is the replacement for old Call of Duty's hardcore, and it's literally just the standard modes but with mask and all at night, and you have to do it in night vision. Not a mode I really prefer, but I know some people like it. But for those who are wondering where this hardcore playlist is, this is essentially the replacement. Number 50, jump shots are also still viable in this game. Now, the only difference compared to jump shotting in previous Call of Duty titles is that your spray pattern is still going to really be in effect while you're in the air. The interesting thing about old Call of Duty games is that jump shotting kind of eliminated your recoil while you were in the air, but your gun is still going to kick vertically and horizontally while you're jump shotting, but it's definitely still a viable option up close and is especially effective of people mounting around a corner. 49, there is currently, to my knowledge, no perk for aim punch. Now, this is basically the flinch that your character takes when you get shot, and you can feel this a lot depending on what you get hit by, and if you're aiming down the sights with the sniper rifle, you're really going to feel this, and unfortunately, there's really no way to compensate for that at the moment. 48, if you see an enemy but you can't really see them either through the darkness or smoke or something, don't aim for the name tag, aim for the red diamond by their character and shoot just directly under that, because that's where the center of the player is, because the name tag is actually to the right, causing you to miss. 47, almost every single sniper rifle scope is going to glint while they're aimed down sights, so if you look for that very bright white light off in the distance, that is the easiest way to locate snipers, and it makes it way easier for you to pick them off. 46, EMP drones are something that you call in, and not only can they take out enemies if you directly land onto them, but also in the vicinity, it's going to disable all electronics and also vehicles. 45, munitions box, which is another field upgrade you can have to restore ammo for you and your team, will explode when shot, and you can do this to either friendly ones or enemy ones, so use this with absolute caution. 44, you cannot slide infinitely in this game. A lot of previous Call of Duty titles, you could chain slides together to get around quickly. However, slides significantly slow down your character's movement as they're kind of going for a more realistic feel to this. Honestly, I love sliding in Call of Duty games, but in Modern Warfare, I don't find myself doing it too often just because it's kind of an inconvenience and disadvantage. 43, another reason not to slide is that sliding increases your hipfire spread dramatically. So if you want to slide around a corner and kind of hipfire somebody, the spread on your weapon, pretty much regardless of what it is, SMG or assault rifle, is going to be very, very wide. This technique should only be done if you're absolutely positive you can secure the kill by sliding and hipfiring, but more often than not, it's probably not going to go well. 42, you can play around with colorblind settings, but the important thing to note is that they will not change the color of blood on your screen, which is the #1 reason people generally do it. 41, extended mag attachments are absolutely great, especially in a game like this where reloading is something you do pretty often, especially in extended gunfights, but there is a downside that you do lose a slight bit of movement speed even just by having a couple of extra bullets in your mag. 40, super sprinting, which can be done by double tapping your sprint button or key, can be done and is very, very quick, especially when holding a pistol in front of you or even a knife. It's very, very fast for movement speed. 39, another attachment you might not expect, the grenade launcher, which is essentially the noob tube replacement in this game, also does hurt your aim down sight speed. Now, that's not for using the grenade launcher, that's actually your weapon's ADS speed, so it does come with a big sacrifice to run. 38, compensators are very, very effective at cutting down on just raw recoil, but the problem is that they do come with their downsides as well, like many of the other attachments, and not only that, but they are completely useless on something like a bolt sniper such as the Kar 98, because when you need to un-ADS and rebolt between each shot, the compensator is going to do absolutely nothing for you. So when it comes to these sniper rifles, the compensator may not always be the best attachment. 37, a handful of weapons in the game, none of the really modern new ones have this problem, but something like the Uzi, these have a very slight delay between the time you pull the trigger and by the time it actually starts firing. You hear a little click and then the weapon will start to shoot. But it's not in your head, there is a split second of time where you actually cannot fire depending on when you pull the trigger. 36, a really nice mechanic to take advantage of is the fact that you can now reload while you're aimed down sights, and this is especially effective at watching a doorway or holding a specific angle and corner that you need to reload but you don't want to lose your spot to do so. In my opinion, one of the best new features that Modern Warfare has brought to the table is this. 35, doors are your friend and use them them to your advantage. You can use these in a multitude of different ways. You can either kind of slowly open them, you could bash them open, you can also open and shut them depending on where enemies are if you want to lock somebody out, or if you want to rescue a teammate. Get creative with these. Doors are a mechanic that the most elite players in the coming months of Modern Warfare are really going to learn, so I recommend you start now. 34, you can change your loadout mid-game. No longer are the days of you having to go back all the way to the menu after a game to change a specific attachment or something on your class. You can do that now while you're in mid-game. This allows you to make fluid adjustments depending on the way the enemy is playing and how you would like to adjust your own playstyle. 33, guys, honestly, I'm going to recommend don't prestige in this game if you don't care about just having the icon and then getting some of the accolades that come with it. If you just want to have everything unlocked and then kind of have that gameplay experience, in my personal opinion, depending on how much you think you're going to grind the game, maybe just get to max level and stay there with all the equipment unlocked if you're more of a casual player, or you're just not really feeling like grinding every single day and getting back up through the ranks multiple times. It's your call at the end of the day, but in my opinion, not prestiging is never a bad option if you just want to stay with everything. 32, headshots actually matter in this Call of Duty game. Now, pretty much in every COD in recent past, it doesn't matter whether you get a headshot or not for most weapons, as it's not going to do a significant amount to your time to kill overall than rather if you just got body shots. But in Modern Warfare, that's not the case. Aiming for the head can be actually quite beneficial. While it is slightly harder to do than just going for the easy body shots, it can end up rewarding you for a steady hand. 31, when it comes to settings, a lot of people, I can't say myself I recommend this, but a lot of members in the community recommend that use a dynamic response curve to your sticks. They swear it makes aiming and tracking easier, so if you're having trouble aiming and keeping on target in Modern Warfare, consider trying this setting. 30, the AK, which is one of the last assault rifles that you unlock in Modern Warfare, has one of the best time to kills in this game. It is absolutely devastating. Now, unfortunately, it's not cut out for every situation, but is a very, very solid gun to use, and I recommend you try it out if you've not done so already. 29, a brand new mechanic added to Modern Warfare. You can now aim down the sights with the weapon on ladders. Now, you cannot use your primary weapon when climbing up a ladder, but you're going to be able to use a pistol. If somebody tries to peek you from over top, you still have a chance to fight back rather than just being a sitting duck on a ladder. If you do ADS on a ladder, though, your climbing speed is going to be significantly reduced, so keep that in mind. 28, the fly-in spawn, which is a somewhat controversial feature in Modern Warfare, is pretty good because it allows you to see a bit of the battlefield before you even spawn in. So depending on where you're coming in at and depending on if you're playing ground war or something, paying attention to that fly-in will actually give you a little bit of information on the battlefield. You can spot enemies this way, you can see extra vehicles and tanks. It's something that you're kind of going to want to keep your eyes out for. 27, the VTOL jet, which is a relatively high streak in this game, is essentially the brand new Harrier strike from something like MW2. If I'm being absolutely honest with you, I still think the Harrier strikes were more effective, but the VTOL is certainly nothing to scoff at. 26, the white phosphorus streak not only blinds the enemy team, but another thing that you've probably seen in this gameplay is that it also causes somewhat of a cut down visibility for your own team. So this can end up kind of biting you as well. The good thing is that the enemy team will pretty much always be one shot in the white phosphorus, and then they're always very easy to clean up for the most part, but your enemies and your friends are also going to have cut down vision with you as well. 25, juggernauts are the highest kill streak in the game that isn't the obtainable nuke. Now, again, unfortunately, just to clarify, kill streaks such as the juggernaut or even the chopper gun or anything like that will not count towards your nuke streak. To get a nuke in this game, you're going to have to pull off a straight 30 gun streak. However, if you're going for that and you have juggernaut on already, you can still pick up a lot of kills and continue on your streak with your regular weapon. Number 24, when the juggernaut is killed, however, he does drop his minigun for anybody to use, and this is another brand new added feature that has not been in previous titles, whereas the juggernaut gun would just go away and normally just had some kind of LMG. Now he has a minigun that will physically drop with a pretty much full round of ammunition in it for either you, someone on your team, or even the enemy to obtain and use. 23 is a nice tip you're going to want to know about. You can scroll through your streaks by holding down the streak button, and it's going to bring up a scroll menu to select which one, because a lot of people were confused about how you pick which one you want to use, as it's not entirely clear how to do so, but holding down that streak button should let you select through the ones that you want. 22, the thermite equipment is very, very good at cutting off paths, and while it is going to attract attention both through audio and also visually, it's very easy to see. It's good for blocking off paths, and if you want to put your enemies down a choke point that you have covered pretty well. 21, helicopters and pretty much most vehicles can be destroyed with any bullet gun whatsoever, and back in the day, you used to pretty much always have a launcher to take down these kinds of things, and especially aerial vehicles, but helicopters can be taken down with bullets kind of easily, especially LMGs that have an FMJ attachment are absolutely light work for those weapons. Now, there are certainly particular weapons and also attachments that do the job better than others, but everything is at least going to be able to put out some damage downstream. Number 20, crossplay is finally a feature in this game, and the way that it works, if you guys are not aware, is that console players for the most part will always play together. However, you can play with your friends on PC if that's what they're on. Now, if PC joins a console lobby, it's mostly going to put it with controller players, especially if the PC user is using a controller on that PC. It gets a little bit interesting about how the matchmaking system works, but for the most part, I'd say it's relatively balanced. There is an issue, however, that I've noticed with some people that they're going on console lobbies and then they're queuing up that way and then plugging in a mouse and keyboard once they get in, which is a little bit annoying. I'm not sure how that's going to be addressed, but just keep that in mind. That is what some players are taking advantage of. Number 19, the Spotter Perk can not only reveal enemy equipment for yourself, but also you can call it out for your team. So this way you can kind of see claymores through walls and then obviously avoid them. This works for essentially any trap that your enemy is going to lay out in front of you, and it's especially good to at least have one spotter who's communicating in ground war, because then your team becomes basically immune to claymores, and any really annoying stationary equipment is no match for you. Number 18, FMJ is back in this game and does essentially what it has done in the past, where it is going to increase your wall penetration, making wall bangs a little bit easier to hit depending on what kind of surface you're shooting, and it's also going to deal a significantly more damage against streaks and equipment. However, the very common myth that people tend to associate with FMJ is that FMJ does not increase your damage per bullet when just shooting a enemy straight on. Now, if you're hitting them through an object, you're going to deal more damage than you were if you didn't, but that being said, just shooting somebody straight on with nothing in between you guys, there is not going to be any extra damage output from your end. 17, some weapons in the game have a sleight of hand option, which is incredibly useful in Modern Warfare, as you're going to be reloading a lot, especially in close quarters in this game, and you're going to want to pretty much always have a full magazine, and if you can do that quickly, that's going to be the best option for you. Sleight of hand, unfortunately, is not a standard perk in this game, and it's only going to apply to some weapons by using this feature. Number 16, a lot of the weapons in the game have a burst fire option, and the reason why a lot of players don't prefer the burst fire is because the recoil is very awkward to handle, and the reason for that is it's mostly horizontal, which is the harder version to control, because with vertical, all you really have to do is compensate upwardly, which is kind of easy for a player to do so, but horizontal is a little different, and the only way to mitigate that to some degree is through attachments. So if you're using a weapon that has a lot of horizontal recoil, the best way to control this is through attachments like an angled grip that cut down on horizontal, which is just unbelievably good for burst fire. Number 15, mantling should be used with caution. Now, this is going to allow you to completely vault over walls and then other objects in your way, like boxes and stuff like that, which is a great movement feature. It makes all of the maps feel way more fluid, and the way that you can get around the map and the speed you can do so is super efficient. However, when mantling, you pretty much put down any kind of output you can have with your weapon. You become almost entirely vulnerable from the time you initiate the mantling to the time you're back on the ground and then guns up again. So this should only be done in an absolute necessary situation, or when you absolutely have to get over to that other side. Never do it during a gunfight, and especially never do it when you know an enemy is looking at you. Number 14, when it comes to the operators and characters, every single model in this game has the exact same hitbox. We went into a match and we tested this out with every character, bigger and smaller, and they all have the exact same hitbox parameters. Whether a character model might look smaller can really kind of throw off your enemy's tracking, and sometimes that helps just having a visually smaller model. But when it comes to avoiding bullets practically in-game, every single character is going to be just as vulnerable as the next. There are certainly some video games where different models have different hitboxes, but in Call of Duty, that's never been a thing and is also not a thing in Modern Warfare. Number 13, in Ground War, you cannot spawn on a teammate when they're in combat. Now, when it comes to the parameters of being in combat, it seems as if there's an enemy that is looking at them or that they're shooting at currently, then that justifies them and you're not able to spawn on that teammate. However, if they're not in the line of sight of an enemy and they're not currently firing their weapon, you should be all clear to spawn on top of that teammate. Number 12, Semtex have a very slightly shorter fuse than frag grenades. Now, this has always been a thing in COD as well, but the difference here is that Semtex fuse only starts when you release the grenade, and frags, of course, the fuse starts as soon as you basically hit the button. So the difference here is between when you release a Semtex and it sticks on something, that timer begins, and it is a little bit lower than a frag. Now, I haven't tested this yet in game, but I would suspect that Semtex also have a very slightly lower blast radius than frags, although I could be wrong. Number 11, fall damage in this game is no joke. Now, they wanted to go for the most realistic version of falling off buildings and how much, it would hurt as possible, but to be honest, I think they kind of overdid it. In my experience, it seems to be a little more than realistic, or a little more brutal than what real would actually be. If you fall like 10 feet in a game where you would just kind of just take a blip of damage in COD, in Modern Warfare, that fall will likely completely kill you. Trust me, I had to learn this lesson the hard way, so take my advice and use your parachute as much as possible. And speaking of parachutes, coming in at number 10, only use your parachute when you're not in line of sight of an enemy, because a mistake that a lot of players are making at the moment is that they're parachuting at the wrong times in the middle of a gunfight, and you make yourself a very, very easy sitting target. Because think about it, you're suspended in midair, there's a giant parachute above your character model, getting people's attention, and also you're falling very slowly, so you're super easy to hit. The best way to try to do this safely is falling at an angle that's hard for your enemy to hit and is a little bit awkward, so you'll get on the ground quicker, but you also minimize the risk of you being shot out of the sky. Number 9, in Modern Warfare, kill streaks cannot be re-rolled for a second time. What that means is you cannot streak twice in the same life. So if you have all 3 of your streaks, so in my game, I have my UAV, my missile, and my helicopter, if I get all of those in one life, I cannot continue to get those again without dying, even if I get the same amount of required kills. The kill chain perk, or even the point man that changed them to score streaks, does not help either. That doesn't change the fact that you cannot re-roll them and you have to die if you want to get your streaks again. Coming in at number 8, this is all for the Claymore campers out there. Your own friendly Claymore can kill you, so if you plant one down and you're using that to cover your back, be cautious about where you're sitting in relation to that, because if an enemy walks in and it explodes and you're in that radius somehow, you are going to end up dying as well. So it needs to be used tactically, and as far as I'm aware, even teammate claymores, if triggered by an enemy, can still kill you, which is unfortunate, but I think they're either going to be fixing this or leaving it in the game. They haven't really mentioned as of yet. Number 7, the bullets in this game when you shoot actually come from your forehead instead of your gun. Now, this sounds kind of weird, but let me explain why this is important. So, in a game like PUBG, which I also really like playing, PUBG, your weapons actually are accurate when it comes to where the bullet is coming from. A longer weapon can either get caught on the stairs or on a window frame if you're shooting, but in Call of Duty, as long as the reticle is on your enemy, it doesn't matter if you're, on a very tight corner or if your barrel is somehow in the wall. If you can see your enemy through reticle, you can hit them with your bullets because they come from your head and not your gun. This means you can essentially peek any angle you want, or even look through cars and stuff like that in car doors and not worry about where your barrel is and if that's going to hit the object or anything. That's really not a problem in this game whatsoever. And following that up and coming in at number 6, your bullets not only come out of your forehead, but there also are no more hit scans in this game. If you haven't played Black Ops 4, that was the first Call of Duty to introduce projectile bullets into COD. It's always been hit scans, which means the moment you're aiming at someone and the time you touch the trigger, those bullets will instantly register with your enemy. But now in Modern Warfare and also in Black Ops 4, you shoot your weapon, your bullet projectile actually comes out and has a travel time to hit your enemy. But in COD, it's so fast that's why I said at the beginning that muzzle velocity really doesn't matter, even at kind of extremely long distances. The sole reason switching from hit scan, which was in previous COD games, to the projectiles that we have now, the reason it doesn't feel so alien is because the projectiles are like almost instantly fast, so it just kind of feels like a hit scan. But that being said, especially at very, very long range fights, you can feel that even on like pistols, there is a bit of travel time to your bullets, so you have to compensate regardless. It's usually not a big deal, but this mechanic change is just something that I feel like everyone should know about. Number 5 is something that even surprised me. If you've been a Call of Duty veteran, you know that smoke grenades paired with somebody that's using a thermal scope can end up being an extremely dangerous combo, because basically it allows them to see you through the smoke, but you have no idea what you're looking at because the smoke screen is just too dark and you can't see anything behind it. However, in this game, we still have smoke grenades and we still have thermals, but check this out. In Modern Warfare, you cannot actually use the thermal scope anymore to see through smoke. The thermal still works as intended, but you cannot cannot create the smoke screen that's invincible. This means smoke grenades are just now offensively more effective, and thermals are probably kind of useless at the moment because that was their intended purpose. But yeah, just something to keep in mind now that you can no longer do the thermal cheese spam with this sort of thing. And in my opinion, the change is great because I feel like once everybody caught on to that, it would be an overused feature, and I'm very glad it doesn't work. Coming in at number 4, I recommend you pay attention to the battle chatter. Now, this is all of the communication that goes on between you and your teammates when it comes to your character's voice lines. Now, if you want to, you can turn on subtitles, which are going to appear at the bottom of your screen to read out exactly what they're saying, and you can pick up some incredibly useful information about enemies' positions based on this. I don't personally use the subtitles just because I listen out and I try to, I don't know, I don't really like the way the words look on screen. I think it just looks better without. But if you want to read exactly what's going on and you want that much information, consider putting on subtitles and see how it works out for you. But nonetheless, pay attention to the battle chatter between your character and also your teammates and even your enemies. Coming in at number 3 is going to refer to how the matchmaking is going to work. There are no more peer-to-peer servers as far as I'm aware. These were the way that things worked in COD history, where you would connect to a certain player inside of the game, and then you would basically use their console or their system as the host. This provided host advantage because everybody was connecting to that person, giving them obviously an edge, and then there was a compensation for that, and then connections started to get really screwy with Call of Duty with peer-to-peer, but now they finally moved it to their own server in Modern Warfare as far as I know, and for most people, connections and pings and all of that is going to be prioritized when put into matchmaking. There is some degree of skill-based matchmaking in this game. I'm not going to say that there isn't, but it is going to prioritize your connection primarily, and that's just simply how it is. Coming in at number 2 is one that I'm really excited to bring to you guys, and this is the fact that revenge mics are back. So when you kill an enemy in this game, if they're in game chat, then you're going to be able to hear a small like snippet of a couple of seconds of their microphone, and so you can get some really interesting either callouts this way or just some very funny rages. As a side note, I've also noticed a lot more people in game chat talking in Modern Warfare. In recent CODs, it's just been everybody's in a party chat or in Discord or something, but there's been a significant portion of the community that's moved over to game chat for this, and it's honestly pretty good to see. Now, finally, guys, coming in today at the number 1 spot, something that you need to know, but it's going to come with a caveat, so I need to explain this, is that all future DLC when it comes to maps that people can play and then just, you know, new stuff like that, and as far as weapons, I'm pretty sure this is how this is going to work. All of this is going to be free. The small issue is that there is a little bit of stuff that's still up in the air, but when it comes to a lot of the base content, such as brand new maps and experiences, game modes, that sort of thing, no more of this splitting up of the player base between the people who buy the maps and then the people who don't and are stuck on the base ones, and then that really screws with matchmaking. Everybody will be playing on the same playing field always. Also, I don't know everything about the whole microtransaction fiasco in this game. I've been out of this for a little bit, but I know a fair bit about what's going on. There are no more supply drops in Modern Warfare. However, this comes with a stipulation. Because the game is so early on, we don't know exactly the direction it's going to be headed in, and we don't know if they're going to try to monetize it in some other way that isn't through supply drops, as that's been the model for every single recent game, and we don't know what's next. If every single future map is free, all the new guns are free, you can do challenges to get them, which is, it seems like that's what they're implementing, but there's no more supply drops, then there has to be some kind of catalyst for Activision to make money back on their game. And what that's going to end up being at the end of the day, we don't know, and so we need to be looking out for that. But for everybody who was turned off to the series, either by paid DLC maps or just the absolutely ridiculous kind of fiasco they got into with microtransactions and how far that stuff went, that's all been scaled back in this game. So until we know for sure what's coming, I mean, I guess the game, as far as that stuff goes, is in a really good spot. And to be quite honest, I think that this was a positive change for the Call of Duty franchise just as a whole, and it's something that myself and a lot of players love to see as well. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be 100 tips and tricks to learn everything about Modern Warfare. I spent so much time putting this together, researching everything and testing stuff, and for those of you guys who enjoyed the video or you learned something from it, I would really appreciate if you could drop a thumbs up on the video. If you made it all the way to the end here, just let me know in the comment section by dropping a smiley face. You are an absolute legend. Thank you so much for sticking through this all. I know this is a very long video, but I wanted to make sure that if I do end up putting something together for this video, video or for this game that it's absolutely quality. So let me know what you guys thought about it down below in the comment section. Again, if you enjoyed, please make sure to drop it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you are brand new to the channel if you have not done so already. Also, make sure to open up the description and go follow me on Twitch, where I'll be streaming every single night. Go drop the channel follow, and I'll see you over there for the live streams. But guys, have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a fantastic one, and I'll see you all on the next stream or the next video. Take it easy, everyone, and peace out.